Champion press hall event. So shouldn't we be talking about the Nordstream since that's the biggest story of the century? And you guys, you know, I mean, you have the executive editor of the New York Times there who came out with a phony story to try and block Seymour Hersh. It's just kind of funny how that happened, you know? I mean, did you even acknowledge Seymour Hersh? All of you are executive editors of papers that broke Pentagon, My Lai, Watergate. Is this the same papers or not? I mean, is there anything you've gotten right in the last 20 years, or am I mistaken about that? I mean, it's just kind of funny because Iraq, wrong. Syria, wrong. Russiagate, really wrong. Okay, I mean, the list goes on and on. So the last thing you could do to try and actually fix your reputation is acknowledge that through leaks, we had to find out that Zelensky was going to bomb Moscow on the anniversary. I mean, if you're so impartial, shouldn't you at least say, right, that Zelensky was going to bring us on the verge of World War III? That seems pretty fair. While Julian Assange rots in prison, all of you got, you know, fat checks because he's in jail for doing your job. And you know what? Tucker Carlson ain't no Seymour Hersh, but he did something you guys are scared to do. Speak the truth and actually be critical of the war, which is why he was actually fired from Fox, because you are all cowards, every single one of you. None of you have actually had any relevancy. And you know what? The mainstream press is now dying. Nobody's ever going to listen to you again. You have no credibility with the public. The only people who care about what you have to say are elite assholes who have nothing productive to say anymore. And it's dying off. So will you at least say something either about Nordstream or Ukraine or the fact that Zelensky brought us to the verge of World War III? And the only reason we knew about that was through leaks? Go ahead. It's a free speech event, right? You guys are the press. Let's say something here. Mr. Khan, come on. You know, you're the executive editor of the New York Times, you know? I'm just trying to get into some good trouble here, man. Woo. Listen, Karen, get out of my face for a second. I got to talk to these gentlemen. Well, I just want to hear what they have to say. Go ahead. I'm done.
Wait your turn.
You're not going to tell to you. Go.
Wait your turn.
You could project if we can't.
I would just say, I think it's important to hear everybody's point of view.
Yeah.
So thank you.
All right.
I do think that we need to give our moderator a chance to ask other questions.
We're on the verge of World War III. Say something about this bombing. We blew up the Nordstream pipeline. Listen, don't stand there while there are people rotting in prison. Nobody said anything about Uhuru, right? The socialists who are in jail for being critical of this war. God damn it.
Unmute us. That was awesome.
Takes a lot of guts.
Oh, Jose, we just watched the video of you. It was awesome.
So
there we go.
So perfect timing.
Sorry.
I mean, listen, there are arguments to be made because everyone would say, well, you know, you're going after AOC and she's supposedly on the good side. Let's throw that out and let's just discuss the fact how John Podesta, of all people, if you're talking about what the swamp really looks like in politics, it doesn't get any worse than that man and his brother and their organization and what they have been doing to this country for such a long time. And when people are looking for reasons to say that you should support Joe in 24, look no further than the amount of money that was earmarked to the Podesta Group to deal with the climate crisis. I mean, to me, that says it all.
I just want to know what event that was that we were just watching the video of. Who were you going at? I'm assuming it's a mainstream media event. You were talking to editor of the New York Times. What event? What was that?
Okay, so I assume that was the one where I started. Is this the lecture hall for Seymour Hersh? Is that when you started?
It must have been. Yeah, you mentioned Seymour Hersh. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that was at Columbia School of Journalism. That was hosted by some group called Fault Lines Democracy, and the name of the panel was called Policy and the Press, and then the subtitle was How Does Press? What role does the press play in shaping U.S. policy? Something like that. And so on the stage was the executive editor for the New York Times, LA Times, Washington Post, Reuters, and the moderator was Jonathan Capehart of MSNBC.
So that the writing's on the wall with that, but you really you said to them like everything that like I've been thinking for so long, and the fact that this took place at Columbia is really interesting to me because growing up in high school, I was a newspaper person, and twice I went to Columbia, to the Scholastic Press Association, to the J School. Like that was sacred there in terms of like the quality of journalism. Like this is something that was taught very seriously. So, and okay, granted, I'm a little older. So it's very disappointing to me and to see like how far we've fallen. But the idea that there is no fourth estate, those are stenographers. Those are just stenographers for the ruling class. Like, what am I missing?
No, you're completely right. They are just stenographers for the upper echelons of the political sphere. I mean, you know, these people like to complain about Republicans, right? So New York Times loves to go after Republicans and stuff, but not when it comes to war. No, because when we start pushing war with China, you know, when we start pushing war with Russia, you know, the media is the first one to say this is why we should all be in charge and support these actions against war, right? So, you know, they get their news reports from whatever agent is giving them, you know, here's the news for the day. Oh, thank you very much, Agent Smith of the CIA. And then they'll go and print it and be like, here you go, here's the news for the day, everyone. You know, we're just going to print whatever it is we tell you to print and read whatever we want you to read.
What was your sort of, I mean, everybody has sort of their story arc, if you will, but what was the inspiration to initially go to AOC's town hall and start this whole process of basically saying, look, no one else is really doing anything to try to really cause stir here when it's desperately needed. So what the F, I'm going to do it myself.
That's a big enchilada of a question. All right, so I'm 24 now, and I was 24 when I confronted AOC. And when I was about 20 and she had just won her primary, I remember I was living in a basement apartment in the Bronx. I still live in the Bronx, just not in that same place, where the ceiling had collapsed in on itself because the ceiling had filled up with sewage water from the floors above. And my landlord didn't want to do anything about it. My assemblyman told me to just drop the whole thing. And my congressman was on the way out because Jose Serrano was retiring. He could not care about anything. So AOC had just won her primary about the time this was happening. And I reached out to her campaign email saying, listen, you guys just won the primary. I'm hoping you could at least bring, I have the screenshot of the email somewhere on my Twitter. Because when she called me a right-wing cultist and said I was lying, like, I was like, well, actually, no, I really was like a supporter of yours. And then she was going on Glenn Greenwald, talking about we're going to free Assange. She was saying how we're going to do this and that. And I think overall it boils down to this quote from Dr. King that says there can be no deep disappointment where there is no deep love. And I really believed in AOC, and I am ashamed to see her become just another warmonger, whether she realizes it or not. And I think after I had confronted her, she had to call me a right-wing Trump supporting, and she had to smear me with every name in the book because it's the only way she'd be able to sleep at night, knowing that what I was saying was not true, or at least she could discredit what I was saying. And that, I think, it led up to me going after her. And even then that night that I confronted AOC with my friend Kynan, we weren't even thinking we were going to shout at her. We were saying like, okay, if you get the microphone first, you bring up this point, If I get the microphone first, and I'll bring this up, and then you follow up with. But when we got there, they said, oh, you guys want to ask the congressman a question? Great. Here's a note card and a pencil, and then we'll, see if she can answer. It's like, oh, yeah, sure. Okay. No problem. Yeah, right. No, they're not going to do that. So we just had to get heard.
Well, that's the thing. They're so protected, and some choose to be so more than others. Our congresswoman never puts herself in a position where anyone can ever ask her anything in writing ahead of time or otherwise. So, it's all relative. So, I mean, again, they don't ever want to be put on the spot. That's like their comms person's nightmare. And so, they're going to avoid that at all costs. And I could not agree with you more. I think that nobody should get a moment's peace when they're out in public. I think that if they're not doing what the general public is wanting them to do by a majority, then they should be called out on it regularly and consistently, like always. So that's just me. I honestly, the Kirsten Sinema in the bathroom, I might have stood up on the toilet and looked over the edge, man. I might have done it. This is like, there's people that are in really bad way, and they're making this be about decorum. And they're wondering why it's getting more and more violent. And I've been saying it for a long time. No, there was something flying by. Why it's going to get worse before it gets better. This is unacceptable how people are being treated. And to just think that you're untouchable when you actually are our employees is infuriating to me. These are
I agree.
Employees.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.